Greetings and bienvenue, midnight crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Alaska is big. At 663,300 square miles, it's about the size of Germany, Poland, and France. To put its size into perspective, if Alaska were a sovereign nation, it would be the 18th largest country on the planet. This picturesque state is filled with scenic, if not cold, ocean views, thick forests, the highest mountains in the United States, 100,000 glaciers, and abundant wildlife, but with a population of 737,259, about the size of Detroit, Michigan, half being in the Anchorage metropolitan area. The one thing it's not filled with is people, just 1.2 per square miles. Alaska also has 6,640 miles of coastline, which is greater than all the other states combined. That's a lot of open area for bear, moose, and killer whales, but it's also a haven for monsters. Living mammoths from the Pliocene era, 5 million years ago, to the early Holocene, 11,700 BC until now, various species of mammoth lumbered across North America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. Although science agrees the species went extinct about 10,000 years ago, one pocket of woolly mammoth was still alive on Russia's Wrangel Island until 1650 BC. The pyramids at Giza were already 1,000 years old at that point. Chew on that for a while. However, a smattering of reports claims the 11 feet tall, 6-ton animals have lived into modern times. Footage in Russia shot by a photographer during World War II apparently shows a woolly mammoth walking through the snow. American Indians in Canada have stories of these tusked beasts living in the northern wilderness. There's also this case published in the 28th of November 1896 edition of the Portland, Maine, Press of Col C.F. Fowler, who heard of woolly mammoths in Alaska. According to the article, Fowler was in Alaska to purchase ancient mammoth ivory from the local Inuit Indians when he noticed blood and rotting flesh on the roots of some tusks. When Fowler asked an elder where the tribe got the tusks, the elder told him, less than 3 months before a party of his young men had encountered a drove of monsters about 50 miles above where he was then encamped, and had succeeded in killing 2, Fowler wrote. When Fowler spoke with the hunting party, they described a creature from another age. Their ears were suddenly saluted by a chorus of loud, shrill, trumpet-like calls, and an enormous creature came crashing toward them through the thicket, the ground fairly trembling beneath its ponderous footfalls, Fowler wrote. They were armed with large-caliber muskets and stood their ground, opening fire on the mammoth. A bullet must have penetrated the creature's brain, for it staggered forward and fell dead. In the article, Fowler also said Alfred P. Swineford, second governor of Alaska, claimed there were large herds of these monsters above Snake River and Alaska's Seward Peninsula. If these giants of the past are still alive, Alaska would be the place. Iliamna Lake Monster. In a sparsely populated area of southwest Alaska, the number of residents in the entire region was 109 in 2010, lies the 1,012 square mile Iliamna Lake, home to Chinook salmon, lake trout, northern pike, and Ili, the Iliamna Lake Monster. The lake itself, 77 miles long, 22 miles wide, and 988 feet deep, is the largest lake in Alaska, and capable of hiding the 30-foot-long, square-headed beast. The monster, known as Gonakadet by the native Tlingit Indians, was viewed as a god having the body of an orca, and the head of a wolf, and was known to eat fishing boats. Early Russian explorers reportedly saw the creature at Iliamna Lake, and sightings have continued to this day. Modern reports come from explorers and biologists who have seen the 30-foot monster, sometimes described as aluminum-colored, other times as black with a white stripe. One report has an airplane snagging the beast with a tuna hook. The monster towed the plane around the lake before those aboard could release the cable. Experts have claimed the Iliamna Lake monster is everything from a white sturgeon, to a sleeper shark, to a beluga whale, all of which can reach a length of about 20 feet and have access to the lake, but the locals know better. Iliamna Lake is home to a monster. Kodiak dinosaur Kodiak Island lies just 176 miles from Iliamna Lake and is the scene of another sighting of a water monster. The shrimp boat Mylark, equipped with state-of-the-art sonar equipment, spotted something in the waters off Kodiak the people aboard could only describe as a dinosaur. The boat coasted past the island in 1969 attempting to map the sea floor when the equipment detected an object swimming about 330 feet below the Mylark. The object was 200 feet long. The largest living sea creature, the blue whale, only reaches 100 feet in length, and doesn't fit the description of what the crew of the Mylark saw that day: a creature with a long, thin neck topped with a small square head, 2 pairs of flippers, and a long, slender tail. The crew thought they'd seen a dinosaur. Giant birds. In 2002, scores of Alaskans told the Anchorage Daily News they'd seen gigantic birds overhead. Villagers from Togiak and Manicotack in southwestern Alaska reported seeing the bird, which was much bigger than anything they have seen before. Moses Kupchik, 43, worked on his tractor when he saw the bird, and couldn't believe it. "At first I thought it was one of those old-time otter planes," he said. "Instead of continuing toward me, it banked to the left, and that's when I noticed it wasn't a plane." A pilot and owner of Bristol Bay Air Service, John Bowker, were skeptical of the reports of giant birds until he saw one himself. While flying near Manicotack, he looked out his window and, "There's this big bird," he told the Daily News. "He's really, really big. You wouldn't want to have your children out." Raptor specialist Phil Schempf said there's nothing the size of that bird alive anymore. "I'm certainly not aware of anything with a 14-foot wingspan that's been alive for the last 100,000 years, he said. "That we know of." Were otter. The Kushtaha, or land otter people, of southeastern Alaska have terrorized the Tlingit peoples for centuries. Like the Gonakadet wasn't enough to worry about. The Kushtaha are a race of people who can shape-shift into otters, but not before ensnaring humans in a web of cuteness. Otters are adorable, and turning the humans into Kushtaha themselves. Kushtaha often assume the form of a human's loved ones to ease the deception. Once a human becomes a Kushtaha, his position in the afterlife is forfeit, the soul is trapped upon earth. But the Kushtaha are a finicky folk, prone to Kushtaha transformation 1 minute, acts of kindness the next, such as rescuing drowning sailors, or simply shredding a victim's flesh, and spilling his entrails. You know, just because. The Tlingit kept dogs to protect against the Kushtaha. Not only could the dogs identify a Kushtaha because of their nature, or the fact that Kushtaha may be carrying pod is uncertain, but the land otter people are afraid of dogs. They're also apparently afraid of copper, fire, and urine.
The state of Arkansas in the southern U.S. is known for its lush green mountains, roaring rivers, and University of Arkansas football. It's the headquarters of the world's #1 retailer, Walmart, and is the birthplace of musician Johnny Cash, and former U.S. President Bill Clinton. It's also the home of monsters. The most famous of these is the Fouke monster, a Sasquatch-type creature immortalized in the 1972 movie, The Legend of Boggy Creek. But this series, Exploring American Monsters, isn't about well-known beasts, it's about the lesser-known creatures the world sees from the corner of its eye, like the Ozark howler. The Ozark Mountains in north-central Arkansas are covered in pine trees, hickory, and several species of oak. A number of endangered species live in these forests, and so does the Ozark howler. The howler has been reported to be a great cat, or dog, or bear-like beast with eyes that glow red from behind a black pelt. The monster stands 4 feet tall at the shoulder, and some witnesses say the beast has horns. But the one aspect every witness agrees upon is the Ozark howler's piercing, terrifying cry, described as everything from the bugling of a bull elk to the laughter of a hyena. More on that later. Many people have dismissed the Ozark howler as a hoax, a college student's idea of a joke, but howler sightings stretch back to the early 1800s. A number of residents of Red Oak, Arkansas, reported seeing the howler in 1846, as well as those in nearby Branson, Missouri, in 1998, and in Jasper, Arkansas, in 2011. Is the howler a hoax? Witnesses don't think so. Gallagher. This 20-foot-long lizard with jutting tusks reportedly lurks in dark, dank caverns in northern Arkansas. The earliest report of the Gallagher was in the 31st of January 1897 edition of the Arkansas Gazette, detailing a man's claim of killing one of the monsters near Marshall, Arkansas, and sending the remains to the Smithsonian Institution, although there are no records of it. The man, William Miller of Little Rock, gathered a group of hunters to track down the beast that had been feasting off local livestock. They tracked the Gallagher to its lair where it charged them, shaking the ground, and felling trees before they shot it to death. Other reports of Gallagher encounters scatter northern Arkansas. Hyenas. The hyena of North America, Chasma porthetes, lived during the Playa-Pleistocene era, 4.9 million to 780,000 years ago. It was lean-limbed, and sprinted like a cheetah. Have a smattering of American hyenas survived until this modern age? Some residents of Arkansas think so. According to a post at arkansashunting.net, a hunter in Izard County claims a man saw a hyena cross the road in front of him. He didn't believe the man until others came forward reporting to have seen the same animal. Similar stories are posted on the topics.com. A woman says she was scouting deer with her ex-husband, years ago, on Lost Mountain in northern Arkansas, when they saw a strange animal with a band of coyotes. Running with this pack, I noticed an animal that wasn't anything like them, the woman wrote. It had a large hump on its back, legs were sorta low to the ground, and the color was way off. I'd seen them on Discovery Channel enough to know what it was, so I started freaking out, screaming, "Oh my God, it's an honest-to-God hyena." White River monster. Named Whitey for its home in the White River, this gray-skinned river monster first appeared in 1915. A local plantation owner who saw Whitey in 1937 said it looked about 5 feet wide, 12 feet long, and had the face of a catfish. The White River, that's flood stage is 26 feet, doesn't seem deep enough to be the home of a monster that large. But reports of Whitey continue. Witnesses saw a 20-foot-long gray monster with a horn and spiny back in the river in 1971. Investigators discovered 14-inch, three-toed tracks of a large animal that apparently emerged from the river, and walked on the shore, crushing brush, and breaking small trees. Hundreds of people have claimed to see Whitey over the years. Since 1973, Whitey has been protected by law. Pterosaur. According to science, these flying reptiles lived from the late Triassic period to the end of the Cretaceous period, which would make the creature extinct for at least 66 million years. However, people have reported seeing these winged monsters all over the world, including Arkansas. A group of people saw a large flying creature near Texarkana, Arkansas, in 1982 that was featherless, had a pointed beak, and a head crest. When they got home, they looked up the monster in a book. It was a pterosaur. According to the Christian County Headliner News, a woman named Laura Dean was driving to the grocery store when a large creature with gray, leathery skin, and a head crest appeared from beneath a bridge and flew within 6 feet of her car. The wings were bat-like with claws at the tips, and the tail was tipped with a diamond-shaped flap. What terrified her was the size of the beast. It was larger than the Chevrolet S10 pickup she drove.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes. midnight Central Time.